Hey everybody, Chad with Nobody Else's Auto. We have a super cool car to share with you tonight. Now, I didn't find this car. A good buddy of mine found it. It's his, but it is going to be for sale. But this is literally a barn find 1967 Mustang Fastback GT 390 automatic car. Now, obviously the car's in primer. Somebody was going to restore this car and repaint it, but it has been in this condition since 1975. This is literally a 1967 that has been out of the weather, in dry storage since 1975. So talk about an amazing find. Not only is this a real 390 GT Fastback Mustang that has been in storage for almost 50 years, this car is chock full of new old stock Ford parts that were bought in the 70s as well. We've got the Marti Report on this car. This is an amazing find. You can tell the tires on this thing are shredded because it literally has been sitting for almost 50 years in dry storage. Just came out a few short weeks ago. So we don't have any clips of it, video clips of it in storage. We've got some still pictures of this car coming out. We're going to put those in here right now. After we show you those pictures of this thing coming out of 40 plus years of storage, we're going to take a good look at this car, check out the Marti Report. Then we're going to dig out some of these new old stock parts that have not been opened in decades. None of this stuff has been pulled out of the car yet. It's piled inside the car. It's piled inside the trunk. So we're going to dig through that, and we're all going to get a surprise when we get into some of that. So let's take a look at some of those pictures of this car coming out of almost 50 years of storage. From. Let's check it out now that it's been moved and look this thing over. We can get all the way around it now and then start digging out the new old stock parts. Now, we've got the Marti Report on this exact car already back. Obviously, 1967 Mustang two-door fastback. We have on the Marti Report right here, 390 four-barrel engine. Obviously, fastback, Brittany Blue, blue vinyl standard buckets. Scheduled for build on May 1st of 1967, 3.0 rear end, C6 automatic transmission. Also equipped with emissions, GT equipment group, F70 14 wide oval tires, console, AM radio, exterior Decor group, as well as deluxe seat belts. Now, the car was actually built a couple of days ahead of schedule. So actually when it was built right at the end of April in 1967. Now, the rest of the Marti Report that we've got on this car to break this thing down, this actually was a one-of-one equipped car. I hope the glare isn't too bad on these, but obviously a Fastback 390 C6 with blue on blue, the only blue on blue GT 390 automatic equipped with the exterior Decor chrome group, which is some extra trim added to the car. So it is technically a one-of-one Mustang. And it's a super cool car. Obviously, fastbacks, crazy popular, super hard to find. Finding a car fresh out of almost 50 years of storage, considering this car is a 67, and we know it has been in dry storage since at least 1975. You don't find them much better than this, especially when the former owner had the foresight to order all the new old stock parts that are piled inside of this car from Ford back in the 70s. So kind of crazy to think about. Let's check this thing out. Body-wise, they don't get much better. We found a few small spots of rust in this car, but it is extremely minimal. The sheet metal on this car looks great. Obviously, it was taken apart to be painted, but so far it looks like most of the trim is there from what we can see. Obviously, we haven't dug any of the parts out of this car yet, but it looks like most of the trim is there. Now, under the hood, this car has a small block and a 4-speed in it right now. However, in the storage building where this car was at, there is a 390 with an automatic, and the story was the former owner pulled the original drivetrain to preserve it. He wanted to drive the car, have some fun with it, swapped this small block with a 4-speed into it back in the early 70s and preserved the original engine. So we're going to get that out and check the numbers on that here very soon. But otherwise, this is probably as good as they get for a Mustang project. Obviously, we can see all the panels are here. The doors fit. Inside the door jambs, we still see the original blue paint, which I'm sure is what it left the factory with. We can see it does have a stick shift in it. It's got factory Mustang pedals under the dash. So when they swapped this to a 4-speed, I believe they did it right. And then you look inside of here and you see all of these parts that we have not even pulled out of the car yet. So we're going to get to that here real shortly after we walk around the car. But one thing I do want to show you while we're here, while we can get a good look, let's take a peek underneath this thing. It is, and like I said, if you're not sure how long this car's actually been sitting, we're going to prove it to you real quick when we look underneath this thing. Obviously, we want to take a look at the floors and see how this car is. But if you don't think this car's been sitting since the early 70s, check out that exhaust system. It still has a thrush muffler on it. It also has homemade traction bars. There again, something would never happen in today's world. These are readily available. Homemade slapper bars, thrush exhaust. I think that pretty much defines the time period of when this car was parked. But while we're under here, look at underneath this thing at the floor pans, the frame rails, really about as good as it gets. The rocker panels are solid. Like I said, we have found a few small spots of rust in this car, but it is extremely minimal. Now, as far as the rust goes, we found a little bit right back here behind the wheels, which is typical, but it's not too bad. As a matter of fact, we can kind of sneak back here on the back side of the car, and we can show you what we're seeing on the trunk drop downs as far as the rust damage. So you can see we've got a little bit right up here, and that's it. The rest of that is still the original trunk drop downs underneath this thing. So when even the back side of that just has a small rust hole in it, that's pretty minimal considering this is a 1967. Obviously, iconic design. We see the Fastback on this thing. Inside the trunk, more parts, a lot more of the trim, more Newell stock in the Ford boxes. But we see a lot of the pieces we're missing on the car. The side vents, they're still here. It looks like from what we've seen, most of this car is here, just was taken apart for paint years ago. So we're going to start taking these Newell stock parts out here in a little bit and start digging through them. But another thing I noticed while we're standing here, apparently the trunk lid was replaced with a Newell stock trunk lid. We actually still see the Ford part number stamped on the bottom of this trunk lid. So looks like it was probably a 1973 stamping. So literally these were still being produced by Ford. They were still on the shelf when this car was being prepped for paint. Another thing we can notice about not only the trunk lid, but also here on the rear quarter extensions, like we said, this had the Decor group. So since this had the Decor group, it had the chrome trim around the back of the trunk, and on the quarter extensions, obviously like we just talked about, the only blue GT 390 automatic that came with this group from the factory. You could obviously add it. According to the Marti Report, this is the only factory one that had it. We come around this side of the car, and it's just about like the other side. It's here, it's intact, full of parts, good and solid. We can see down here in these door jambs and rockers, nice, clean, solid. Really, if you wanted to build a Mustang GT, I can't imagine finding a much better project car than this one. I mean, that's about as good as they get. It's tight, there's no play, I mean, the hinges aren't wore out. They click shut. It's just as good as they possibly can probably get. Let's take a look at these floor pans while we're here, just out of curiosity. I'm sure they're identical to the other side, and they are. Rockers are clean, floor pans are clean, frame rails look good. And we'll come up around the front. Like I said, this does have a small block in it now, so we'll take a peek under the hood. Even though it's not correct, we're going to get that 390 dug out and double check to see if that is the original motor. But under here, we can see where they put the small block in it. It's got headers on it. Of course, for that high flow thrush muffler, we had to have headers. So we had a full flowing exhaust system on this car, which today sounds kind of funny, but hey, in 1973, if you didn't have headers and a thrush, what did you have, right? So that's what we've got on this Mustang. It literally is almost a time capsule. The other couple spots of rust we found in this car, right here on top of the structure, which is very common, and it's got this spot on both sides. However, the rest of this is all good and solid. So really a pretty amazing car. So let's, now that we've showed it to you, we've walked around it, let's have some fun. These parts have not been out of this car. We know, since from the story the family told us, this car has looked like this since 1975. These parts have been piled in this car since approximately 1975. We haven't looked at them. My buddy that bought the car hasn't even dug them out. So we're going to be the first ones to start digging through some of these boxes of new old stock and see what we've got. Well, we talked about the Decor group. This isn't in a package, but I would say that's probably a new old stock trunk molding. That or it's a super nice original. New old stock in the Ford package rocker moldings. It's got to be something you don't see every day. And they are both here in Ford packages with the hardware kit. Looks like a whole box of goodies there. And as per the Marti report, there's the console. And we can get a better look there. It's got the fold down rear seat still in it. As well as, like we talked about, the Decor group, the only blue 390 GT automatic with the Decor group. How about a full set in the Ford wrappers, wheel opening moldings for a 67 Fastback with Decor group. So obviously this is kind of a special car, being the only blue 390 GT automatic with Decor group. Not only is it Decor group, it comes with almost all the Decor group trim in new old stock Ford packages. So that's pretty amazing in and of itself. And I mean, I'm sure they reproduce all that stuff, but you're never going to match the fit and finish of your trim parts coming out of new old stock Ford packaging. So we just dug this big box out of here. Let's see what we've got in here. So we haven't gone through any of this. And my buddy that bought this car has not opened any of these boxes yet. This is the first. He just got this car a couple weeks ago, hauled it out to this building, put it on roller plates, stuffed it in the corner. So this is all new to all of us. So we're all going to get to see it at the same time. Bezel, one bezel. Taillights. There again, I'm sure they make all this stuff in Taiwan, I'm sure. But there's 6 boxes of about the same size, and I bet we're going to have a full set of these right here. There's 3 of them. There's the 5th one. I bet we got a full set here. Yep, there they are. All of them brand new in Ford boxes. bumper guard, as well as these little rubber strips, and I think these must be for the guards. Yeah, bumper guards, one new bumper guard and all new rubber strips for the bumper guards, all with Motorcraft tags on them. So, pretty cool stuff there as well. So let's do some more digging because we got more new old stock in the trunk of this thing. And see what else we've got. Looks like some of the interior trim is all down in here. The grill is in there. There's the rear sail panels for the rear seat area. Oh, plus this super cool little flip down Mustang gas cap. We missed that. This being a GT with the Decor package, has the flip down gas cap. Another interesting feature of that Decor package and being on a GT. It actually works too good. The spring is too good. This thing is 50 some years old and the spring is too good that it still takes two hands to latch it. It's not worn out, it's not broke, tight just like a new one should be. So what else do we have in here? Gas pedal, what's this? One pad. That's an empty box. Nothing exciting in that one. Same with that one. One lamp. Appears to be maybe a park light, brand new. One body. Backup light housing assembly. And another body, which is probably the other backup light assembly. So that looks like some of the new old stock. We've still got a little more digging to do. There's still a few more things that have to come out of storage on this car, including what we hope and believe to be the original 390 NC6 for this super special car. Obviously, like we talked about, if you want a fastback Mustang, this is probably as good as they get. If you want to build a 67 Mustang, this thing literally, I can't think of too many more boxes this thing would check unless you actually had found a Shelby, because that's literally kind of about to where this car is at. When we look at the Marti Report, and that's one nice thing about a Ford, once you run your Marti Report, there is no question about it. It is what it is. It is how it was equipped. It is built the way it was built, and it's all proven right here. And that is how we can prove how special this particular fastback Mustang really is. Being a 390 automatic GT, and then the only one in blue with the exterior Decor group, which is kind of a neat deal. A lot of people order these cars. They didn't care if you had extra trim on them. You couldn't order a 390 GT because you wanted it to be pretty. You wanted it to be fast. Whoever ordered this car new, ordered it with an automatic, ordered the exterior trim Decor package. They wanted it to look a little classier than just a basic stripped down race car. And that's kind of what we have here with this special 67 Mustang GT 390. So amazing car. Special thanks to my buddy to let me come down and do a video on this thing and share it with you guys, because it is so amazing. You don't find these cars anymore. And to find one that we know has been parked for almost 50 years. So this car was approximately 7 or 8 years old when it was parked, has been in dry storage, being preserved for all these years. And now it's time for this car to have a new life and be restored back to its former glory. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. If you got any questions, give me a shout on it. It is going to find a new home soon, and it is definitely well deserving of a spectacular restoration. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned. A lot more cool stuff coming up.